I would like to ask the Minister for Environment, Food and Agriculture how much money is being collected from the sale of plastic carrier bags and whether local retailers are required to keep records of how much money has been raised and how this is allocated.
Call on the Minister to reply. Mr. Booth.
Thank you, Mr. President. At present, we have no legislation to compel retailers to charge for plastic bags. Consequently, charges raised, collected and disbursed by retailers are at present operated under their own schemes. However, a number of larger retailers are charging for single-use plastic bags. It is, however, our intention to bring in primary legislation to require mandatory charging in due course, but honourable members will appreciate that the Department is somewhat stretched at the moment with Brexit issues. Additionally, at present, schemes run on a voluntary basis are run at no cost to government. If we adopted the same scheme form that is in the UK, most of our businesses who employ less than 200 people would fall without that scheme. Consequently, any scheme we introduce in the future must address plastic bag use on a Manx scale. With regard to retailers operating their schemes, at present Tesco's report openly on their website stating that the proceeds generated from the charge, excluding VAT and costs, are donated to local projects via their Bags of Help grant scheme. Grants are decided by customer voting, and an interactive map on their website shows that £68,140 has been allocated to Manx projects through the period of accounting, although that period is not known. Marks and Spencer's plastic bag charges go to UK projects, and we will be talking to them about making this available on Ireland. The Co-op introduced a range of longer life reusable bags on the Isle of Man in January 2015, and the income from these is donated to community projects across the Isle of Man. Over the last 12 months, Boots have sold 151,440 carrier bags, valued at £7,572, which is down on the previous year by an encouraging 10,480. All the profit from the sales of the bag goes to BBC Children in Need, some of which is granted back to projects on the island. Heron and Brearley manage the spa shops on the Isle of Man, and we are awaiting further figures for their stores. However, a percentage of the income goes to charity. ShopRite, whilst we know are now charging for plastic bags, have been passed a query with regard to money and allocation. However, we have not yet received a reply. Once they have replied, I will be happy to circulate it to members. This is the situation to date from information gleaned. I would add, and as honourable members are aware, we are rolling out the government single-use plastic strategy with the next meeting of departmental champions in December. We are working on rolling this plan forward to reduce single-use plastics across the community, building on the government plan. Thank you.
Supplementary, Mr. Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Minister. With sums raised on Ireland from sale of carrier bags now exceeding £100,000 a year, does the Minister recognise the need to recognise the value and the impact of this and show it in a more transparent way? Possibly something as simple as on the government website to include a page to show who's contributed and who's benefited from the sale of carrier bags.
Mr. Booth.
Yeah, thank you. I don't see any problem with that, excepting that we don't have access to all the information. We have to go out there and find it. But I'm very happy to task officers to look at the situation and provide a website if people will contribute and give us the information we require so that we can populate that website. Thank you for the suggestion.
Honourable Member for Ramsey, Dr. Allinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the Minister agree that one of the encouraging figures he gave was the reduction in the total use of plastic bags? Because surely a scheme like this isn't to raise money, it is to reduce plastic waste. Yeah. And would he also agree that actually what we would like to see is far less plastic bags being used across the island, particularly those that are then discarded and get into our seas and waterways?
Mr. Booth.
Yes, indeed. the charging regime is not to raise money, although that is a useful byproduct, and if it's used correctly with local charities or identified where it's going and it's used properly, that's good news. It's encouraging that Boots have used less bags, but I know from a personal perspective, since ShopRite started charging for their bags, I think we've barely used a single-use plastic bag, and I think most members will be aware of that influence, and I would hope that in due course there will be a drastic reduction in plastic bag usage as a result of charging.